Well, Mark, here we are on your latest monthly update.
Yeah.
Some of the topics today: Rotherham, fans or customers.
Oh, don't say that word. Go on, carry on.
Academy.
Yeah.
Catering, merchandise, and big screen.
Yeah.
But let's ease you into it gently. Current form. What are your feelings?
Well, it depends how you view current. 1, 2, 5, 10 games. I think, as we know, our start to the season hasn't been as good as what we would have wanted. It's not horrendous, 3-3-3. It's a good platform, but we wanted to be a few points more in advance of where we are at the moment. But we have won our last 2 games. We've got players coming back from injury that are starting to bed back in now that we hoped would be available earlier on in the season. Kenny's gradually finding that formula with the squad that we have got. And hopefully now we're at a turning point and things can only get better. There's a run of games coming up during the second half of October and into November. I look at the fixtures now, I think we can get on a good run.
For a dead rubber on Tuesday night, wasn't bad, was it?
No, it was a really enjoyable game actually. Yeah, it's quite exciting second half. Again, they put us under a lot of pressure. We were quite resilient, looked very dangerous on the counter-attack, and then it went to penalties, and I felt like we was always behind the 8 ball on the penalty shootout. Never felt that we were quite there, and it seemed destined for Oxford to win that. But thankfully they didn't, and it was a relief to win it on penalties, only for the fact that guarantees us now a home fixture in the next round.
We do have a question about the academy later on, but that does say a lot about the academy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Kenny played it really well. He started off with a load of academy lads against a very strong Oxford team, and I think Carl Robinson, the Oxford manager, came out in the pre-match and said it was a game he wanted to win. He put a strong squad out and wanted to win the game, like us, because you want that home draw in the next round. And for me, I thought what you get with the academy lads, they've got to be good enough, obviously, but especially the first 45 minutes with that energy and enthusiasm, they're very hard to break down, and they can really put a shift in. But what tends to happen when you play a younger team, as the game goes on and the experience and the stamina starts to wear off, favour the team with the experienced players, that's when teams get caught. But Kenny cleverly, gradually, as the younger lads started to tire, he gradually changed them over to the experienced team. Was winning right until possibly, I think it was the last kick of the game, or last but couple of kicks of the game, and then it went to penalties. But I felt the momentum at that time was with Oxford, and it carried on into the shootout. But thankfully, we won it.
OK. On to first team. When will we have a new date for the Rotherham game? It's all a bit protracted, this, isn't it?
It is, and as you know, because you're in the same office as us, we've suggested dates to Rotherham. As current as this morning, we were back onto Rotherham again, but we have to get permission from them and then get permission from the EFL as well. So it's not been easy for one reason or another. But I did chase it up this morning and say, look, where are we? Because supporters need to know when the game is to start making plans. But I don't have an exact date at the moment. Currently where we stand is we have given dates to Rotherham. They're saying that they're going to check it with their manager and come back to us, and that's been like that for quite a while now.
Yeah, it does take 2 to tango in a situation like
does.
That.
We can't dictate it. We have to get permission from Rotherham.
Any news on the refunds for season ticket holders for the Bury game? Well, that's a game that's not going to be played.
No, as supporters obviously know, it was the last game of the season. We have looked at a number of options. We discussed them last week at the Tony Goodall Fans Conference, for those of you who don't know, is the representative group of all the different fans, organisations and supporters clubs. And we, put some proposals that are accepted. I believe they're out there on the minutes. So behind the scenes, before we go public, and that's why I don't want to say it at the moment, we need to look at what is achievable in regards of operationally to what we suggested, and which was voted on unanimously by the TGFC. And then hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be out there and advertise what we're proposing.
OK. At what point in our history did us fans turn into customers?
Never.
In your last interview you said, as a business, he's not under pressure. Labelling fans as customers. Your actual quote, if we went back and looked at this, if people are dissatisfied, we're not seeing it as a business.
So where did I refer there as customers? I haven't. Fans can be dissatisfied. Fans can stop coming to games. I didn't use the word customers. I never would. It's very disrespectful, and it hurt me that it's suddenly, again, social media, it becomes online that I actually used the word customers. I never did.
You're an old school football fan, aren't
That's
you?
right, I'd be insulted, so why would I say that about, for something that I would be insulted on? I simply said, now, that can be supporters and it can be fans. You can be dissatisfied and stop coming to games. And that happens at loads and loads of clubs. I won't name the club. I watched one the other day that's struggling in the Championship. The stadium is half empty. They're fans, but their attendances have gone off of a cliff. So where is that a mention of them being customers? Fans can be dissatisfied. And I'll reiterate again, we are not seeing fan dissatisfaction in regards of people attending games, people attending away games, corporate hospitality, and in regards of our commercial revenue. We are not seeing not customer, we're not seeing fan dissatisfaction. There is obviously fan dissatisfaction. We're not blind in our current performances. We accept that, we accept it, but that doesn't mean we're referring them to customers. We're still referring to them as fans.
Yeah, and great fans at that.
And great fans at that, yeah. And by the way, as I've always said, entitled to an opinion. Just because as a board or as an executive for the club we don't agree with that opinion, don't mean they're right and we're wrong or the other way round. We listen, we take everything on board, but we have to take into account a broad spectrum, and ultimately we have to make sure that, in our opinion, we do the right thing for the football club. And doing the right thing for the football club is, in our opinion, isn't always the most popular. So I hope I've answered that.
Okay. We've spoken about the academy. Are you able to confirm what level of funding the owners have made into the academy over and above the Pompey Lottery proceeds?
Annually, since they took over, just Tonante, we're putting that into the academy, we're putting that into the first team, we're putting that into the executive team, we're putting that into stadium infrastructure. We have an operating P&L to work with that includes the academy, but that's taken as a business as a whole. They invest in the club overall, heavily by the way, and then out of that we have to work in deciding stadium infrastructure, player wages, management structure and wages. So there's so many different things, that intricate parts of the clock as such, different cogs within the clock that makes it function, of which the academy is one. Now, internally, if you're asking me in regards of the management accounts for a specific department, over and above what we get from the lottery, it's a six-figure sum plus. It has gone up annually. We continue to invest heavily in it. And, just in the last few months, we've taken on Sean O'Driscoll, heavy investment in Sean and what he's bringing to our coaching staff. We've brought Neil Sillett back in, who started up a section within the academy for scouting, which had been obliterated, post-admin. We never had a real scouting structure. We're now scouting Europe and around, the local area and further afield. And we've made investment as well into the purchase of players in our under-18 youth team. These were all things that didn't exist just a few months ago that now exist.
You've actually elaborated on a question that was actually addressed last month, but now that should put it to bed.
And look, I did see the comments post my Q&A saying I didn't answer the question. I don't get what else to say. I've said we are investing annually as a club a six-figure sum over and above the money we get from the lottery, and I've just given you some real bullet point headlines there of where that money is going.
Okay, as I say, hopefully put to bed.
Hopefully so.
Right, here's a more straightforward one. Are there plans to improve the catering and merchandise on offer?
Well, there's always plans and we're always working on it. I think if you look at the club shop from where it was a few years ago, in the old shop next to the subway there at the Pompey Centre to where we are now, got a great shop, great facilities, my opinion, great merchandise. The kiosk offerings don't seem to get as many complaints as what we used to a few years ago. However, we're not perfect. We're always looking to improve, and we will keep working hard and consistently in trying to improve both the merchandise available in the shop and the offers on the kiosk on a match day.
Okay. As we travel around, there are some good fan zones. What are your ideas on holding a fan zone at Fratton Park?
Yeah, we have looked. I mean, outdoor fan zones, especially, with our winter, are difficult. It was where would you put it? So if we did a fan zone and we put it in the car park, an example, there'd be, rightly so, quite a few complaints that we was taking up car park spaces for a fan zone. The other area that we've looked at is behind the current club shop, but to make that health and safety compatible, it runs into many, many hundreds of thousands of pounds. And then when behind the scenes we look at the master plan of what we would like to do to the area, generally it really doesn't warrant that amount of money being spent that, in a few years might become redundant as part of the overall master plan.
It does bring fans together though, doesn't it?
It does, and we like it. We have got the Victory Bar. We're trying to introduce in the back of the Fratton end more catering kiosks along there, selling a variety of different food, and that is something that we're looking to improve upon as the season progresses.
Funny you should say the Victory Bar. When or how did a pint in the Victory Lounge go up from £3.50 to £4.20?
Well, when was in the summer. How just increased costs generally across a broad spectrum, and we get 23 times a year really to maximise revenue out of the Victory. We spoke to a number of other clubs. We found that we were quite, healthily one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest. And while we don't want to be too expensive, £4.20 was more in line with what other clubs were charging. And as a business, so I'm back to the business side of it and generating that revenue, that was the figure we really need to achieve.
£5 for a bottle of lager at Oxford the other night.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So, yeah, that's okay. It made me feel better there, Johnny.
What are the chances of seeing Pompey Women play at Fratton Park this season?
Hopefully really good. We've got a meeting on Saturday with the Pompey Women's Board, and one of the things we're going to be looking at is if we could put on the Pompey Women's game on what was going to be our last home game of the season against Bury at home. So hopefully, it's something we're really passionate about, and something, I mean, we've got a permanent home for them now. They're aligned with our sponsorship, wear the same kit. There's a lot of things we're doing with Pompey Women. We've got members of our executive on their board, but now we want to take it to that next level and just bring them a little bit more closer to home as such, and playing games at Fratton Park in the future is definitely part of that.
Probably the most united it's ever been.
Pompey Women?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you just go back a couple of years, they were all over the place, games being routinely cancelled. And we're losing a lot of money, and it was touch and go at the time. It was only through the funding of Mick Williams that managed to keep it afloat during those years. So now we're working a lot more closely with them, in regards of how we're publicising them. When we get a new sign-in, we tweet it out. It's on Instagram, it's on all our social media channels. We advertise the games heavily during the week and on a match day here at Fratton Park. There's just so many across a broad spectrum. We consider them part of the family now, and as the years progress, we only envisage that growing stronger.
Okay. Why does the clock on the big screen not show added time? It appears on TV coverage, so why can't it be shown in the ground? And
it's not within our control. It's the regulations. You can't show added time at any club inside the stadium, and that really is because it's at the discretion of the referee. Where at home, obviously fans at home can see it, and whether the referee decides to play an extra 2, 3, 4 minutes over and above the allotted added time is his discretion. But in the stadium, I think the feeling is it will create too much pressure on the referee, like the 4 minutes is up, blow the whistle, where it is at his discretion. I think it's a crazy rule because most people could start their stopwatch and do it anyway. Probably is, but it's not our rules and regulations.
No. Okay, screens in the south stand so they can see what the big screen is showing. Any ideas about those?
Yeah, I mean, I think that came up a long while ago, and we did say we'd look at it, and the answer is we are still looking at it. In the scheme of things, with a lot of other more important health and safety work that's been required, we've tried to concentrate on that, but it is something that we will revisit.
Are Pompey poppies going to be available this year, coming up to that time again?
Yeah, and again, just to refresh everyone's minds on that, last year I think we got a bit of stick that we run out of the poppies. Just to be clear, this is the Royal British Legion that supply the poppies. They manufacture them. They literally are nothing to do with us in the production stage. We don't. All we do is actually sell them on behalf of the Royal British Legion.
Okay. Now we do get questions that should be made clear here about stadium updates. Yeah. But We give stadium updates, and there's nothing more to update.
There's nothing more to update. I think we do it every Q&A, but listen, I'm happy to just repeat that we've addressed a lot of the health and emergency health and safety work that was required. We continue to invest heavily in that, which we are behind the scenes. Things have moved on. If you take pictures of areas from 2 years ago and take them now, people go, wow, I didn't realise that, in regards of the Fratton End kiosk area, in regards of the club shop, in regards of the big screen, in regards of all the work that's gone in the South Stand this summer, what gone on this summer, gone into a seven-figure plus amount, huge investment in repairing the roofs, the structural beams, the cladding at the back of the stadium. So a huge amount's gone on. But I get, look, I'm not naive, the fans now are wanting to see the next big project. But the next real big individual project is a certain area of the stadium that is in desperate need of work. However, as I've always said, we don't want to go out and publish things that we know that we are not in a position to deliver. And at this moment in time, for what I consider to be events outside of our control, i.e. with the local council, with Network Rail, with the highways agencies, things that we are working with them on at the moment, we don't want to come out and show a shiny new picture of a stand as an example, only for in 2 years' time to be still sat here going, well, there's nothing we can do, like we haven't started the work. So we need to be sure in our minds that we have got sort of general agreement for all that work that's outside of our control to go ahead. Now, there is, saying that, I'll be honest, there's a chain of thought at the moment that we do publish what we want to do, knowing that we're not in a position to start because of all the exterior agencies that we have to deal with, and then using that to say to the exterior agencies, look, the ball is now in your court. We've done what we've said, we've set out what we want to do, the fans love it, now can you start helping us? So maybe that is a way that we go in the future.
Fans have seen stadiums before, blueprints like the one at Farlington, like one in the water at Portsmouth Harbour, which never materialised.
No, but they got fans excited for a period of time, didn't they? Yeah.
The one in the water got them excited for about one day, yeah.
Johnny, it's a cheap PR game. We could publish tomorrow, easy, what we want the Milton End to look like, what we want a North Stand to look like, what we want the Fratton End to look like. If we're staying, we can publish those pictures, all shiny. What will happen? It'll buy us a bit of time, a year or two, where the fans are all excited, look at how Fratton Park's going to look. But the reality is, we don't want to be really doing that until we know that we're in a position to deliver it. And Michael's big, our board are big on saying, judge us by what we do. When we say something, we will do it. So in regards of, publishing anything to do with the stadium, we will be very clear, this is what we're going to do. As an example, the work on the back of the South Stand roof, huge job. I think we published that a week before we was due to start the work. Because why? Because there'd been a lot of planning getting involved. We knew we were going to start the work, we published it. But I go back again, maybe now we've hit a bit of a roadblock with exterior agencies, within the city. So maybe now the time is for us to say, look, this is what we want to do. However, before we commence this work, we now need those exterior agencies to get behind and work with us on it.
That's quite a long answer for a question we weren't going to answer, but well done.
But I do quite like clarifying it. As a club, we've got nothing to hide. We know where we are. We know as a board where we want to take Fratton Park. Because we do, Johnny, we pride ourselves on transparency, honesty. There's not many clubs as honest and transparent as we are, and sometimes that works against us, but we believe that's the right policy, and it's a policy that we will continue, and something Michael encourages.
And hopefully people will remember that answer before they put the question in next month.
Or view the previous Q&A before asking the question.
Mark, thanks for your honesty once more.
Thank you. Cheers, Johnny.